Alright, I've been doing a little thinking recently, and I just wanted to talk about arguments. Um, when, okay, so when, oh jeez, I'm gonna try not to focus on the game too much, but when someone is arguing, there are certain ways you know you are winning or losing said fight or argument. Now, the way people argue varies person to person. The way I personally like to argue, I like to argue the facts. I try my best to keep my opinion completely out of it because opinions are not facts. Opinions are opinions, facts are facts. So when you argue an opinion, that's just how you feel. But when you argue facts, that's not disputable. When you argue facts, you can't argue against it. You can't propose a counter argument unless there are facts that basically dispel or disprove what the other person is saying. So basically, I was looking at something, and also just something that I've noticed recently in my life is how you can tell when you are dominating an argument. So, when you're arguing and you're arguing the facts the way that I like to, usually if your facts are true and you're not just spitting out bullshit, then the person you're arguing against won't be able to have a counter argument because you're arguing facts. Like I said, if you're arguing facts, they shouldn't be able to have a counter argument unless there's other facts to back up their argument. So arguing facts is a very broad. It's a broad spectrum, right? So back to what I was saying. I'm getting very scrambled brain right now, but kind of just trying to work down best I can make this make sense. So if you're arguing with somebody and trying to get back on topic, how you know that you are winning and they are losing the fight, when they're scrambling for shit to think about and throw back at you. Now, it is okay in an argument. I believe it is okay that I say something that is factual. It's a little word that I made up, I guess. That is a factoid. So if I say, if I make a statement that is, it's facts and I can back it up, you then have to come up with something to dispute that, but your dispute has to be facts that are backed up. Because if you just say something and it's not backed up, then you're just talking out your ass and you're not actually contributing anything to the conversation or the argument. So like I said, I'm so scrambled brain right now. So if you're arguing, I gotta turn it on. This is distracting me. So I'm sorry. So right, when you're arguing, and how you can tell that you're winning is when they're scrambling for something to think about. Now, like I said, when you're arguing and someone spits out some good facts at you, some good solid backed up facts about the argument, it is okay to just take a second and think. You don't have to be quick-minded. You don't have to be constantly running your mouth and saying something. Take a second, collect your thoughts, and think about what you're gonna say. That's how I like to argue. Now, if I know what I'm gonna say right off the bat, let's say because let's say because the person I'm arguing against brought up a point that is just completely moot or just doesn't contribute anything to the conversation that we're having. They're just speaking maliciously, or what they're saying just doesn't have anything to do with the conversation. Then I will spit something out very quickly, saying something like, well, that's just fucking dumb. You're just, you're just spouting out bullshit now. You're not even fucking arguing. You're just scrambling for shit to throw back at me. You know what I mean? So, if that's the case, if you can't think of anything to argue back with, take a minute and think about what you're going to say next. Now, there is a certain point as well where if I'm on the losing side of the argument and, let's say I'll be party B, party A says something and it's undisputable. Being the bigger person in the argument, you can just stop and be like, you know what? You're right. How do I put this? Admitting defeat is one of the hardest things to do. I will be the first to admit. Admitting defeat sucks. It fucking sucks. Nobody likes to do it. Nobody wants to sit there and say, you know what, you're right. I'm wrong. Nobody sits there and is just like, yeah, I'll admit defeat any day. I hate admitting defeat, and if I don't have to, I won't. I'll be the first to admit that, I hate admitting defeat. It sucks. It almost makes you feel weak in a way, you know what I mean? Even though it's not a sign of weakness. Me personally, I find it a strength, admitting defeat. I find it to be a strength, because it is a very hard thing to do, and it takes a very big person to sit there and say, you know what, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong. Me personally, I think that's not an easy thing to do. So I'm not gonna lie, I just went up to go to the bathroom, and I completely forgot what I was saying, but I'm gonna try and piece it together. I think I was saying something along the lines of it takes a very big person to admit defeat like that. Nobody likes admitting defeat. But, right. So let's say, right, that's the big person thing to do. I was party B. Party A brings up something, and it's like, well, shit, now I've got nothing. Let me break down, like, the right and wrong thing to do in that situation. The right thing to do when party A says something, and in a sense you're sitting there and you're like, fuck, I've got nothing on that. Like, that argument, he got me. She got me. I'm just gonna say he just because it's easier for me. That's just how my brain works. I'm sorry, but you're sitting there and you're like, fuck, he got me with that one. I have nothing. Like, my argument got swept out from underneath me. In that case, it is most appropriate, in my opinion, it is most appropriate to just say, you know what, yeah, you're right. You're right, I'm wrong. And, like I said, that is one of the hardest things to do. To sit there and just be like, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong. Now, like I said, that would be the best thing to do. Now, like I said, I'm going to be speaking on personal experience here. What I've noticed, and even, I'll admit, when I was younger, my brother and I, we got in a ton of arguments. And this is honestly how I learned to argue, was my brother. Because if I didn't argue the facts, and if I didn't generate a solid argument based on facts, he would fucking grill me. And it made me feel like shit, because I'm the younger brother, right? So when my brother would argue with me and I lost, he would make sure I knew that I fucking because, sibling rivalry, right? It's like, no, especially the big brother. No big brother can lose an argument to his little brother. Are you freaking kidding me? You know what I mean? It's like, big bro has to win. He has to win. And he did most of the time. There was hardly ever a time where I would win an argument. But when I did, it felt really good. You know what I mean? So like I was saying, my big brother, he couldn't lose an argument, and neither could I. Winning an argument against my big brother, that was a huge win. It was more than just winning an argument with my big brother. It was like, man, nothing topped it, because he knew how to argue really well. I mean, if he was a politician, he'd be a damn good one, because he can argue really well. Was he always right? Maybe not. But he could argue. He knew how to do it, and he knew how to do it well. And I learned from him, So, he taught me that when you're arguing, you have to stay on point. You have to argue the facts and stay on point. So basically, because if you don't do that, then you're making your argument completely invalid. When you start getting emotional, when you start name calling, that's the biggest part that I had trouble with. I'd be losing an argument, and I'd start the name calling. Well, you're a fucking idiot. Oh, really? Well, it seems like you're just losing the argument. Am I an idiot, or are you losing the argument? You see what I mean? So, you have to put it in that perspective. If you're losing the argument, you cannot start name calling, because that is a sign that you are losing, and you are giving it away to the party A that you are losing. That's the thing. You don't want party A to know that you're losing, and you know you're losing, because if you know you're losing and they know that you're losing, you've just lost all traction. You've lost all ground to stand on against them in that argument. So, with the name calling, you are basically, right then and there, as soon as you start with the name calling, you are basically admitting defeat. So I was like, well, you're a fucking idiot. Well, you just lost right there. You lost the argument. And it is very hard. It is very hard to regain traction from that. It is incredibly hard to get your traction back, because now you have to go back and start from scratch with your argument. Because, like I said, the name calling is not only immature. Now, when you're arguing, you have to be as mature and as calm, cool, collected as possible. When you start getting pissed off and start getting loud and angry, you're losing. So, like I said, the name of the game, you have to stay calm, cool, collected, and argue the facts, and only the facts. Because when you start getting off topic, when you start getting emotional, you've lost. Which, I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm going to be very all over the place. I'm just trying to rant. So when I was arguing with them, I often lost. And I would start with the name calling. Well, you're a fucking idiot. I don't know. Fucking idiot's the only one I can think of right now. But, I would have 1.5 million insults for him, because, he's my brother. But that's how he knew I was losing, was that I would start calling him names. Or I'd get loud. I'd start yelling at him. Now, when you're arguing, you stay calm. And if they start doing shit to you, or you notice that they're getting pissed off, what I do is I expand on that. So I was having an argument with one of my friends, and I noticed he was getting pissed off. So I harp on that. I start picking. I start picking and poking. at those little sensitive spots that make him angry. And I can tell because he makes it known. That's the biggest mistake you can do, is make it known that you're getting pissed off. If you're getting pissed off, you can get mad, but don't show it. Because as soon as you show it, it's a sign of weakness. You have to think about it. Like a pack of wolves or some kind of animal hunting another animal. Two animals fighting, right? Animal A is fighting Animal B. Animal A hurts Animal B in some way, shape, or form. Animal B cannot show that Animal A hurt it, because as soon as it does, Animal A realizes, I've got the upper hand now. Now I've got traction. I've got leeway over Animal B, and that makes it easier. Getting in their head is part of arguing, is getting in your opponent's head. If you can do that, you're going to win very easily against them. So that's what I tried to do, was that I would try to get inside of his head, and it worked every time, because he let me. Now, if someone's trying to get inside your head, if they're doing shit that normally pisses you off, don't show that you're getting angry. Don't show it. Because then they're going to expand on it. That's what I always do. Is that he would show me that he's getting pissed off, and then I'd be like, oh, perfect. I can expand on it, and then he has no traction. And I would do that every single time. He'd be getting pissed, and I'd say something that would set him off just a little bit. And then he'd say something. He'd say something stupid. That gave me all the traction in the argument. Now here's how you know that you won. And you can stop at any moment at this point. You can stop the argument at any moment after this point. You know you've won when your opponent says something along the lines of, shut up, shut the fuck up, or will you shut up? Or please stop talking, just stop talking, just stop. Anything along those lines. Anything along the lines, or anything that has a similar meaning of, shut up, you have just won. Now, why? Why does that automatically mean that you won? Well, let me tell you. When someone says, shut up, they want you to stop talking because, either you're annoying them or, whatever. But in this case, in the sense of an argument, they're telling you to shut up because if you're throwing enough facts at them and they can't handle it, them telling you shut up is basically a battle cry for I lost and I can't accept the fact that I lost. That is basically what they're indirectly telling you. Shut up, shut the fuck up, will you please shut up? Any of those is literally saying, I lost. I lost this argument. So if you're the person you're arguing against says anyone else, you won. Now, with me, when I'm arguing, I won't shut up. I'll keep going. Now, at this point, you can stop. But if you've got a point to further prove, then, don't shut up. By any means, don't shut up. Keep going. If you've got more to talk about, if you've got more points to prove, keep going. Now, after I talk about this, I'm going to let you in on the situation at hand that I dealt with, and show you how I used this tactic against a friend, and how I used it to totally reel this argument in my favor and not his at all. Now, I want you to keep in mind that, like I said, I am very, very good at arguing because of my older brother. So I owe it all to him. All the all the pain and torment he put me through as a kid. Trying to argue with him. Eat. Motherfucker put me through hell. But I can only complain so much. Okay, so I was saying that I owe it all to my brother because he taught me how to argue. All the pain, suffering I went through, it sucked, but I owe it to him because now I can argue like a beast. Now, all right. Now let me let you in on the situation that I had with a friend recently. So, my current living situation. I live with 2 other people in an apartment, 3-bedroom apartment, right? So, the 3 of us are all in the military, so we get what's called basic allowance housing, right? Or something along those lines. I'm not super savvy on the terms anymore. But basically what it is once you hit a certain rank, you've been in a certain amount of time, you are able to put up a package to allow you to move out of the common area, common barracks, and move out into town. So the 3 of us did that. 2 of us got it. The 1 did not. Now the one that did not is the one who I was arguing with. And you'll see why here very shortly. So basically, we decided, you know what, we'll go ahead and get 3-bedroom anyway, just in case, you can get the BAH sometime soon. So again, BAH, basically the military adds a little bit extra onto your paycheck, so that you can live outside of the barracks and free up space in the barracks because there's only so much room, and we're constant. There's more people coming into the military than there are going out at the moment. So they allowed a couple people. They were like, "Hey, you guys can move out." So we did. Unfortunately, he did not get it. I don't know exactly why, but the why is not important. Point being, he didn't get it. So we're moved in. We've been living for a while. So because he's not getting BH, we told him, you know what, you don't have to pay rent. We'll work something out where you don't pay rent, but you'll pay for the electricity. And, obviously you'll pitch in for the Wi-Fi. And we all decided, okay, yeah, that's fair. So we're like, okay. So it was always a thing, like he didn't pay to live here. The only thing he paid for was the electricity and pitched in for the very inexpensive Wi-Fi. It's only like $30 a month. That's it. I pay the most of it, and the other guy pays a little bit too, right? I pay the most of it because I picked the plan, and I wanted a really fast, expensive one. And I said, you know what? Hey guys, look, because I wanted this plan, I will pay for it. And they were like, okay, that's fair. And I said, we all cool with that? They said, yeah, that works. So I was like, okay. So with that being said, he never paid to actually live in the apartment, like I said. I'm getting a little off track, so I'm sorry. So recently what struck up this argument. Now, I do not have the master bedroom. He doesn't either, because, he's not even fucking paying to live here. Why the hell would you get the master, you know what I mean? So I don't have the master bedroom. The way we settled that, I basically just said, dude, look, man, I don't really care who gets the master. I'm just excited to live here. So our other friend was like, well, I'll take it. And I was like, okay, cool. And we both looked at him and we're like, yeah, fuck you, you're not getting it because you're not even paying to live here. And, he threw a little bit of a fuss, but both of us were like, myself and the other guy were like, yeah, dude, no, you're not getting the master. You don't even pay to live here. Don't even try to argue it because you don't. And then that was that. So recently, we've been in this apartment for a year, and he hasn't paid rent in that entire time. Very, very recently, like last month, he got the BAH that he needed to be able to pay. So thankfully for all of us, the rent is now lower. So that was very, very recent, right? So in the common area, I own myself and the other gentleman own the furniture. I own the couch, he owns the other couch, I own the coffee table, the entertainment center, the TV that is on the entertainment center, all that stuff. So, all that shit's mine, right? One thing that I do want to mention, this will come into play later, that he is big on, is he doesn't like people touching his stuff without permission. Now, me, I am a pretty easygoing person, but just like anybody else, I have limits. I'm one of those people where I'm very kind, very easygoing, but at the same time, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, don't take my kindness for weakness. Just because I'm nice to you doesn't mean I'm being weak, like I'm bending my knee to you type situation. And to put it shortly, he definitely took my kindness for weakness. You'll see how and why here in a second. So the girl that he is dating recently moved in with the permission of nobody. When he first was dating her and she wanted to visit, he would ask us, hey, is it okay if she comes over? And at first we were like, yeah, okay, it's fine if she comes over for a couple days. Second time, he asked, is it okay if she comes over for the weekend? That's fine. After that, it became an assumption. Oh, they're fine with it. You can come over. They don't care. And I brought it up to him at work. And I was like, why didn't you ask us? Like, what if I wasn't okay with it? He goes, well, you are okay with it. And I was like, am I? And then he's like, you guys will be alright. It's like, it's really fucked up, dude, that you just don't even ask and you just don't even care. Like, first of all, you don't even pay to live here. Every time I brought that up, he would throw a shit fit. But it was true. I was like, dude, you don't pay to live here. He's like, I pay the electricity and I pay for the Wi-Fi. I was like, you pay a portion of the Wi-Fi. You don't pay for the Wi-Fi. I take the majority of the Wi-Fi. You pay a portion of it, and you pay a very, very generous amount. Like, I could make you pay so much more, but I'm being generous.
That below Subway.
Basically, like I was saying, I was being very generous. I was like, you know, I could make you pay more, or I could just take you off the Wi-Fi. I could just change the password and not tell you what it is and make you pay for your own Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? That was a whole other argument. So going into the recent argument, this is why I brought up that I do not have the master bedroom, because I don't have a whole lot of room inside of my bedroom. I don't have all that. It's not very spacious. Now, with that being said, I have a lot of stuff that it just couldn't all fit in here and be livable. So I've got a couple of boxes and a duffel bag out in the living room. It takes up about 2 feet by 3 feet, maybe. More like 2 by 2 feet of space. And it's right by the entertainment center. It's not in the way of anything. One thing I should also mention is he's kind of a neat freak when it comes to other people's shit. When it comes down to your shit, fine, be a neat freak. If you want your shit a specific way, that's fine. I don't care. But don't you dare try to tell me how to keep my shit. I would get constant complaints. Oh, your room is such a mess. Oh, the living room. I hate how you just leave your shit there. So I was like, you know what? You don't even fucking pay to live here, so you can suck it up. You can deal with it. And there it is again, that you don't pay to live here. He didn't like that. But it's like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? You don't pay to live here, so you don't deserve to have an opinion on this. I would say that constantly. Once you pay to live here, you can have an opinion on how the living room looks. So, recently, he and his girlfriend moved in. Now, for some reason, she has a colossal amount of shit. So I'm saying wall to wall out in the living room, filled with shit. So we're having this argument. One of our friends at work brings up, how's his girlfriend doing? He's asking me, and I said, she's a fucking burden. Like, it's honestly annoying having her there. It's a burden, and honestly, an invasion of my privacy. Like, it's a hassle having her there. Obviously, he doesn't want to hear that, being that he's dating her. He only wants to hear good things about her. But you know what? I don't tell people what they want to hear. I will never, ever just tell you what you want to hear just because you want to hear it. I will tell you the truth. I will never, ever sugarcoat it, because that's not who I am, and that's not how I am. So I didn't sugarcoat it. I was like, she's annoying as hell. It's very bothersome having her here. It's just a bother. I hate having her there. And I was like, and they take up a colossal amount of space in the living room. They just leave their shit everywhere, and I'm sick of it. His argument: well, you've been taking up space in the living room since we've been there. You've been taking up space for months. And I brought it up again. I was like, do you pay to live there? And he goes, I do now. I said, well, have you been? Your argument was, my shit's been in there for months. Have you been paying to live there for months? I don't think so. Does your stupid girlfriend pay to live there? Didn't think so either. So anyway, like I was saying, sorry for all the weird jumps. Trying to do this with only the gameplay, not the pre-game lobby. So going back to his argument, my rebuttal was, well, does she pay to live here? Because her shit's spewing about everywhere. Does she pay to live here? I didn't think so. So why are you complaining about my shit when her shit is taking up way more space than mine? And it's in a very inconvenient spot. It's right next to the freaking dining table where, where I actually use. And they spend the majority of their time on my couch using my entertainment center. And the thing that bothers me the most is, as I said, he's very big on people not touching his stuff without his permission. My big thing is I cannot stand hypocrites. Preaching about one thing, saying you hate one thing, and then turning around and doing, or in this case, being that exact thing that you preach that you hate. That makes me more mad than anything. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that I've never done a hypocritical thing in my life, because that would make me the exact same thing that I hate. You know what I mean? I've done very hypocritical things in my life, I will admit. And looking back on them, the everything that I can remember, everything I've done that I can remember that was hypocritical, I look back and it's like, man, it's disappointing. Every time I look back on it, it's like, wow, that's really fucking disappointing. I can't believe I did that, said that, whatever. But that's my thing. It's like, why you preach about you hate people touching your shit, you hate people messing with your shit, doing stuff without your permission, and then immediately, we come home and he does that exact thing. And it's funny because I feel like I know the exact thought process behind why that he does that and thinks it's okay. It's like, Oh, can we use this? Can we use that? Can we use this? Oh, he's easygoing. He'll be okay with it. We don't need to ask. You know, he's easygoing. He'll be okay with it. And it's like, you know, that's not always the case. Yes, I'm easygoing to an extent. There's a point where even I draw the line for how easygoing I am. Yes, I am easygoing, but you know, I paid for that couch. It wasn't cheap either. It was an expensive couch. I paid for the entertainment center. I paid for that TV. None of which were cheap. And especially someone who says, I hate when people mess with my stuff. I hate when people touch my stuff without my permission. Someone who says that, someone who does that. Oh my gosh. And then turns around and does that exact thing, excuse me, that they say they hate. I can't stand that. So that's what really set me off. And like I was saying earlier about the arguments, here's how I knew I won, is because he said it out loud, thinking that I would stop. Like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'll stop. He out loud. I was very upset about this too. I was very pissed off. My tone of voice didn't change. The way I was arguing didn't change. Nothing on the outside changed. I was very pissed. You know, like I wasn't happy about the situation. I was about as happy as he was. You know, pissed off. But here's the mistake that he made, is he told me, you're pissing me off. To which I responded, good, get pissed. Get pissed. And I kept saying it over and over. Get pissed. Get pissed. Get pissed. See if I fucking care. Get pissed. And guess what? I didn't care. And it got to the point where he was an animal backed into a corner with no way out. And he started saying, you know what? Just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. To which I would respond, no, fuck you. Go fuck yourself. You're gonna talk to me like that. I literally said, who the fuck do you think you're talking to like that? You piece of shit. And I was like, no, fuck you. He's like, just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. And I was like, no. No, I'm not gonna do that. No, go fuck yourself. And then he kept saying, you're pissing me off. I was like, get pissed. Get pissed. Get pissed. Nobody tells me shut the fuck up like that. And just gets away with it like that. Because that's outrageous. Like, what kind of fucking child are you to sit there and be like, oh, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. I was like, no. Absolutely not. I'm not just rolling over. You know, I'm not rolling over and letting this slide over me because you're a fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean? I was like, no, you're a fucking asshole. I didn't say that. On the inside I said that, so, you know. Going back to the entertainment center thing, what I did the next day, I got home a lot earlier than they did. Now, the funny part about this is that we had this little fitness event going on, and it would have been fun. The event was paintball, and I honestly would have been okay with it if I didn't get this response from him. At first I was joking, but then I became very serious. So, in the military, you know, you have your rank structure. We're the same rank. I picked up this rank before he did, so I've got seniority over him. So when we were talking, what really bothered me was he was almost talking down to me in a way. Right? So we were talking, and he goes, hey, you're on the list for this Force Fitness event, and I said, "Oh, I'm not going to that. Like, I'm not. My body's not in a good state right now. Like, I'm in a lot of pain." To which he asked, you know, do you have a chit? Do you have like a light duty chit? Which basically means that you can't do all the active things. You can't do the physical training and all this other stuff. You know, like you're limited as to what your body can do. And it's like the chit is like a slip of paper basically excusing you from doing those things. And he's like, do you have a chit? And I was like, no, but I'm going to medical soon. He's like, well, you need a chit, so you're going. And I was like, no, dude, I'm not going. Like, no matter what you want to say, I'm not fucking going. Because my body right now is in a bad state, dude. If I go, it's gonna fuck me up. And he's like, well, do you have a chit? I said, no, we've been over this. I don't have a chit, and I'm not going. He's like, oh, no, you're fucking going, dude. And I was like, first of all, I don't know who the fuck you're talking to. Like, I know we're the same rank, and, like, you know, we can talk to each other like friends because we are the same rank, but I still have seniority over you, and also, like, why are you talking down to me as if you're either better than me or... I almost wanted to say as if he was a higher rank, but even if he was a higher rank, you know, there's no excuse for talking down to somebody the way he was me. Like, it was just uncalled for. So, I was like, you know, what's your fucking problem, dude? And he's like, oh, you're going. I was like, no, dude, I'm not going. So, right, the Force Fitness event. So it was paintball. And he was like, you're going. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not going. So, basically how the military works, or at least my branch works, is we have what's called a platoon, which is 4 ranks of people. So ranks are like lines, like 4 lines with the leader at the end, the squad leader. So you have the squad, and then you have fire teams. So I'll break it all down, just so that people who don't understand will understand. You got the platoon, which is everybody, and then you have squads, which is the one of 4 columns, and then you have the fire teams, which comprise of 3 or 4 people, and then the fire team leader leads those 4 people, and then you got the squad leader who leads everyone. That was a nice shot, by the way. I'm getting off topic. So anyway, that is the platoon. Now, platoon, or I guess the platoon, receives like information from their squad leaders, like the squad leaders pass it down. Now, because I am getting out very soon, I'm not in the platoon, so I don't receive a lot of the information that the rest of the guys do. So here's the great thing, is I heard about this event, the paintball thing, but game day came, and I was trying to get out of it, and then it got to a point where I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll go. I'll suck it up, and I'll go. And then the guy who's in charge of the whole platoon, the platoon sergeant, pulls me aside. He's like, hey man, I know you're not in the platoon, you don't get any word. Did you know about this Force Fitness event? I was like, I just heard about it like recently. He's like, oh, so you didn't know about it? I was like, not really, no. And he goes, okay, so do you want to go to it? And I was like, I mean, and he goes, well, first, before I ask that, do you even have like clothes to change into for the event? And I said, no man, this is all I've got, like what I'm wearing. I don't have anything that I'd be able to change into. And he goes, okay, so you don't want to go? And I was like, if I had something to change into, I would. And he goes, okay, yeah, I'll, they put you on the list, but I'll tell them that you're at medical or something. And I said, you know what, I actually do need to go to medical and get some shit checked out. Which I did. Like I told my supposed friend. You know, I told him, you know, I've got medical issues, like I can't do it. Sure enough, the platoon sergeant hooked it up, and he's like, yeah man, you don't have to go. Just go to medical. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And I told him thanks, man. I appreciate it. I really needed this. Sure enough, we got out of it. That's what made it all better. Is that he did have to go to that event, and I didn't. And he was excuse me, blah, blah. He was practically forcing me to go, even though he didn't really have the jurisdiction to do so. He was practically forcing me to go, just being an asshole. He was basically forcing me to go, and then little talk with the platoon sergeant, and it was like, no, you don't have to go anymore. That's fucking stupid that they even put you on this list. And I was like, I know. And he's like, yeah, man, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. You don't have to go. And I was like, cool. So while he was, dicking around at the event, and his girlfriend, I don't have a nice thing to say about her, but I'll just keep my thoughts to myself. She typically sleeps all day long, which was perfect. So I got the idea. I was like, you know what? I've got a couple of hours. I'm just gonna move the entertainment center out of the living room, and I'm gonna put it in my room. And I was like, shit, well, I don't know if it's gonna fit. So I did a couple measurements, and I was like, dude, I've got literally the perfect amount of room in my bedroom. So I did the measurements, and I was like, shit, the only problem is moving this effing thing is kind of a two-person job. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm in the military. I can do this. So, I pulled my pants up, and I was like, let's do it. Freaking picked it up, took the TV off, and he had his PlayStation hooked up to it. So I unplugged his PlayStation, took the TV off, moved it to my room, picked the damn thing up. It took me about 15 minutes to move it, 20 feet down the hall, but I was freaking committed, you know what I mean? So I was like, ain't nothing gonna stop me. I'm moving this damn thing. Sure enough, I picked that thing up, moved it down to the hall in my room, set my TV up, and then going back to what I said about him being like, oh, I don't like it when people touch my stuff, yada 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 yada, right? What I did was I unplugged his PlayStation, and I left it plugged into the wall, and I just set it on the ground as if I never touched it. just to be a little funny. I honestly got a good kick out of it. I thought it was pretty hilarious. Yeah, moved my entertainment center to my room, and I was like, you know what, fuck you guys, And I was pretty proud of myself for that. So, with all this being said, let me break it down how I won that argument. The odds were in my favor from the beginning. You see, because with me paying rent, that was like the whole thing. If he had been paying rent since day one, a lot of the traction from my arguments would have been gone. If he had been paying rent, I would have lost miserably. These arguments would have never even taken place, maybe, unless I just crafted some shit to throw at him. And he sucks at arguing, so I mean, I maybe could have, but it would have taken a lot more effort from my side. Because he didn't pay rent, and he just basically gave me all the tools I needed to win these arguments. He gave me these tools because he didn't pay rent, and he could have gotten BAH with me and the other guy if he had listened, which made it all the more better. But he didn't listen to me, so he didn't get it. Irrelevant, but all the traction was in my favor because he didn't pay rent for a full year. If he had been paying rent sooner or longer, the traction would have been in his favor. I would have had no ground to stand on for a lot of this. Now, his girlfriend moving in and her coming here without our permission, yes, I could have argued that. It would have been a little harder. I would have had to argue the fact that it's a breach in our lease agreement. Because our lease agreement is for the 3 of us, not 4 of us. She is not on the lease agreement. So I could have brought it up that it's a breach in the contract. Having the respect that I do for that friend, I didn't. I didn't bring it up to the apartment complex because I didn't want to get them kicked out. Because, like I said, somehow, I still do have a little bit of respect for him. And, I mean, I am very much so a man of second chances. And when I say second chances, I mean more like 100 million fucking chances. Like, I've got friends, girlfriends who fucking betrayed my trust, and, you know, I somehow find it in me to give them a second chance. Or I guess 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, you know, infinity amount of chances. I get it from my dad, honestly, the amount of second chances that he gave me as a kid. I guess it carried over, and I can't complain too much, but I can complain a little bit. But anyway, let's break it down why he lost this argument, if you couldn't tell already. So, like I said, all the traction was in my favor, but he could have put up a better fight, I think. Now, my shit being in the living room, yes, it was there. It was a mess. I will argue that it's an organized mess. So like I was saying, I would argue that my quote-unquote mess in the living room, I will argue it was an organized mess. It wasn't just a complete mess of just random fucking shit and just nastiness. Like, it's the box for my computer, just spare clothes that I have that just won't fit in here. So I needed to throw them somewhere else where we had room. And guess what? We had room in the living room. So that it was where I put them. Because we had the room, and because we didn't really use the living room that much, nobody used it. So it was fine. The only reason we ever used the living room was to have like a movie night, the 3 of us having like a little movie night. It's the only reason we'd ever use the living room, which, you know, we never had movie nights because we were all super busy all the time, so it just didn't happen that often. But even when it did, nobody ever mentioned the quote-unquote mess that was in there. That was never ever brought up. The only reason that he ever brought it up or had an issue with it was for argument traction, which really it gave him almost no traction, because, you know, as I previously said, like, he didn't pay rent, he didn't contribute anything to the apartment. All he contributed was just him taking up space and living there. That was basically the only thing that he contributed. So, really, he had no standing ground to argue at all. So, I had all the traction there for my, I keep saying quote-unquote mess, because it really isn't a mess. It's a box and a duffel bag. That's it. So, like I said, 2 by 2, 2 feet by 2 feet, maybe. And it doesn't even look super trashy. You know, it's organized. It's an organized mess. So yeah, that was his argument. Now, the way you argue that is, you could say, you know, man, I just think it looks a little trashy. I just think there might be a better place to put it, and I'd say, oh yeah, like where? Now, from there, the thing to do, from his point of view to mine, arguing against me, what I would have done has been like, why don't we figure something out? Why don't we compromise? Why don't we find something that works for both of us? You obviously can't fit it in your room, and I don't like it being there. Let's find a place where it benefits us both. That would have been the smart thing to do. It would have taken all the traction out of my argument, and it would have benefited us both. We compromise. But him being the hard-headed individual that he is, compromising was not an option. With him, it's either we're doing it my way or we're not doing it at all. You can kind of see the problem with that, you know what I mean? It's like, well, if it's only benefiting you, what's the point? You know what I mean? But he didn't think like that. It's just like, you know, he and his girlfriend are... I know I said I didn't want to talk too much smack about them, but one thing I think that is worth mentioning is that they are two of the most selfish, self-centered people I think I have ever met in my life. They are unbelievably, unrelentingly selfish people. And it's quite pathetic if you ask me. So compromising was never an option. So that's the issue with the mess. Let's break the argument down even further. He's losing, and he's very clearly losing. Instead of getting pissed and telling me you're pissing me off, what would I have done in that situation to, I don't want to say not get as pissed off, but to get me to leave you alone? Because, you know, you tell me, you literally admit defeat without admitting defeat. You literally tell me you're pissing me off. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. You are indirectly admitting defeat. Right there, like as I said before, that is the battle cry of someone who lost. Instead of saying something like that, the way to get me to leave you alone would just be say something along the lines of, you know what, man, you're right. I should have asked you if she could come live with us without paying or contributing anything to the house. Yes, you're right. I should have asked both of you first and made sure it was okay with both of you, not just one of you. I should have made it sure it was okay with both of you before just, you know, going ahead and doing it. You're right. I should have done that, and I didn't, and I'm sorry. That, oh my gosh, that aim. That would have gotten me to leave him alone probably faster than anything else. Unrelentingly telling me to shut the fuck up, or telling me that you're pissing me off, that will do the opposite of get me to leave you alone. All that will do is make me push harder. Because not only are you showing weakness, but you're also pissing me off. Because who the hell are you to talk to me like that just because you're getting mad. Like, just because you're getting mad, you get to sit there and talk down to me and tell me to shut the fuck up. Just because you're losing the argument. No, that is not fair. And that's not how I roll. Like I was saying, just because you're losing the fight, I don't know who the fuck you think you are to start talking down to me because you're losing and because you're in the wrong. That does not give you any right to talk down to me as if I'm a lesser person than you because you are losing. That's not okay with me, and that will never be okay with me. That is just unbelievable. The quickest way to get me to leave you alone at that point is just say, you know what, you're right, and I'm wrong. And that goes back to the beginning of this rant when I said that is the hardest thing to do, is sit there and admit defeat. Because I don't think any sane person on this planet would sit there and say, yeah, I actually enjoy getting in arguments just to lose them. That's the whole reason I start arguments, is to lose and admit defeat. I don't think any sane person would sit there and say, yeah, I enjoy admitting defeat. Telling someone else they're right and I'm wrong brings me joy. I don't think anybody can actually sit there and say that. I certainly cannot. It sucks, but I will do it. I will admit defeat. And if they rub it in, you know, I can accept that because I would do the same thing. You know, me being me, I would rub it in just as much, if not more. And it's normal, you know. If you do end up being that bigger person, and, you know, the other party that you are arguing against, that one wants to rub it in, let them do it. They earned it. Now, if you are the party that won, and you are taking it upon yourself to rub it in, you must know that there are limits to how much you should rub it in. Keep in mind I said should. You do not have to follow any limit at all. You can rub it in as much as you want. But one thing to keep in mind is that rubbing it in too much can end relationships. It can make or break relationships. And I gotta say, this whole feud between the two of us almost ended an okay relationship. I wouldn't say it's good. It's decent. You know, he's not my best friend. I'm not his best friend, you know. But this feud almost ended a decent friendship. And it's sad that it came to the point that it did. It really is. And it's sad that, you know, I have to sit there and just be the butt of the joke. For lack of better terms. It sucks that I had to just sit there and suck it up and just deal with everything that's going on. Like, yes, I could bring it up to our landlord that they're breaking the contract, but I don't want to get them kicked out. I don't want to get kicked out. You know, worst comes to worst. I wouldn't want that to happen. So, me being as easygoing and forgiving as I am, I'm gonna just let this whole thing go. And in the way, I won the argument, lost the battle. Could I have won the battle? Absolutely. Would it have been worth it? I would compare it to that Thanos meme. You know, did you do it? Yes. What did it cost? Everything. Ah, shit. Obviously, that's a bit extreme. Winning this argument or battle wouldn't have costed everything, you know. But it definitely would have costed something. Like I said, it almost costed a friendship to end, which I've had many friendships end over a lot less. I've had friendships end over some really stupid shit. I mean, kids will be kids, you know. High school, middle school, even elementary school drama. You know, kids will be kids. You know, you can never stop that. Also, nothing beats middle school drama. Nothing will ever top that for me. I think the craziest thing is that high school bullshit follows you into the real world. I was always so excited about joining the military. Like, yes, I'm finally gonna work with adults, but no. Unfortunately, that was not the case. I mean, it's even happening in my own household. I'm living with a couple of children. The one roommate that I haven't mentioned much, he's fine. The one that I've been talking about this whole time, who ironically is older than me, has been acting like a child. And it's just one of those things that there's just nothing you can do. It's one of those things where it's just like, you know, you just have to accept it. You just have to abide. It is what it is, and they're never gonna change. Like, that is a big principle of mine, is don't change yourself to fit someone else's needs. You should never have to change who you are for somebody else, ever. Stay true to yourself. I always say that. So I mean, if being a child is who he is, then you do you, man. But it's he makes it difficult to want to be friends with him. I will say that. He makes it very difficult. But hopefully you learned a little something about argument. Definitely a lesson on how not to argue. A lesson on how to lose an argument very quickly. Get emotional, get loud. Name calling, you know, shit like that. That'll get you, you lose an argument pretty damn quickly. Doing that shit. So, there's advice on how to lose an argument. If you want to win one, stay true to the facts. Don't let your feelings overwhelm you, as hard as that is. Trust me, arguing from feelings rather than, arguing from a fact standpoint rather than a feeling standpoint is very difficult. Trust me, I know. Arguing about some of the sensitive topics I have argued about in the past without involving feelings is one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. But it's taught me a lot. And you look a lot smarter. I don't know if that's important to, whoever sees this, but you do look a lot smarter and a lot more mature arguing facts rather than feelings. So, I think I'm going to end this rant here. We're about to lose this game. Oh, we lost. So, ending the rant and the game on kind of a low note. But, ruined friendships can't really end on a high note. But, yeah, I really hope you guys learned something. Or whoever watches this. I hope you either learn something or you can take this away and maybe apply it somehow, some way. But as of right now, that's it for me. That's all I really had to say. I know it's a lot, but I had to get it off my chest, and it feels really good. So, yeah, enjoy.